Mm. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. So I'm really grateful you met with me today. Now, you are Spencer's mom.
I
But if you
am.
want to introduce yourself, just share a little bit about yourself and Spencer, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I wasn't looking for a dog, which is always how these stories start. I wasn't really looking for a dog, but I was finally in a position in my life to take that on. And it had come to my attention, being tagged by family members, that there was a Doberman that needed to be rehomed. And he did come with some challenges. And so I knew that going in. He came from a wonderful home. I always like to explain that part. He did, but his needs really exceeded the capacity of the couple who owned him at the time for medical reasons. And so, yeah, I wasn't looking for a dog, but I fell in love. My aunt was working at the place that he was being fostered. And so, of course, they sent me a couple of videos and I
Mhm.
go and meet him, and then now I have a dog. So yeah, and that being said, like I wouldn't change it. And I love how you introduced me because being his mom is such a huge piece of my identity, which I realized the other day. My sister made an iPhone video, like you know how you can click the people and it will play a video. So her video for my face and her phone is just this compilation of like videos and pictures of me and my dog. And it just kind of hit me like, wow, like a huge piece of who I am is really wrapped up in this dog and being his mom. And so he had some challenges. And they didn't present right away. Like it took us some time to get to know each other, and so I always joke like he just didn't care about me then. Like I would take him for walks in public and I would think like this dog is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with this dog. And
Mm,
then it hit me like I just don't think that he had bonded with me yet enough to care about protecting me or showing me who he really was because he really wasn't that confident. But he is he's a lover. Those that he knows well, he loves hard. And he has a big group of people who he loves, but he very much has stranger danger. He's been caught off guard several times in his life and been put in a position where he felt backed into a corner. And so he did have like a bite history. I've owned him when he has bitten. So it's been a long journey of reactivity and balancing that. It's been like I grew up with dogs. I had even done some junior handling as a child, but this was definitely new to me. And it
mhm.
didn't scare me because I have horses. I'm a horse person. So it certainly didn't scare me, but I learned a lot. I know a lot more now than I ever did in the beginning. But yeah, so just a lot of reactivity, stranger danger, some bite history there, leash reactivity, very territorial in the home, but um I've learned he's just really not that confident. And
Mhm.
we've done a lot of things like he's done obedience, agility, scent detection. Like he's done all kinds of things. We've tried the ratting. Like he's a smart dog and he's tried a lot of things. And but who he is at his core, I've learned is just not that secure and confident. Yeah, in experiences. And so learning that took me a little while, but that's kind of who he is in a nutshell. I know him as, a big 95-pound goofball who just like I don't know what we would do without him. He's just the biggest goof. He's the biggest lover. And that's how I know him, but it's certainly been a long journey.
Yeah, gosh, thanks for sharing that with me. And yeah, I can think that a lot of people can relate to that piece of, not everyone sees the dog that you see, and that can be
Yeah.
really challenging.
Yeah.
So, will you let us know, like, where were you when kind of we met, started working together? Like, how were you feeling? Um, how was Spencer doing?
So before we met today, I kind of looked back and I think I had just been following some of the content that you were creating at the time. This would have been back, I want to say 2022. Um, and so I had been curious just about some of the content that you were creating, and we had connected a little bit about some of that. And but ultimately, at that time, I was already working with a trainer. I had just started, and we were having a lot of success in a lot of areas in terms of the actual like training component that I was trying to apply with him. And so I kind of watched from afar, but very curious. And then there was a particular event that did lead me to reach out to you. Um, it was quite traumatic for me. I had tried to we were doing this riding clinic, and basically I didn't advocate for my dog in a moment where I should have. In my defense, it did happen very quickly, but I think sometimes we worry about being polite, and
Mm,
I just should have advocated for him sooner and faster. And ultimately, somebody kind of rushed in, and he was put in a situation very quickly that he wasn't comfortable with. And in barking and reacting, his teeth made contact with this woman's hand, and so, like, of course, I was horrified. That event, like, oh boy, that was a big
mm,
it was just a big traumatic event for me. There was a lot of guilt there. There was a lot of shame. It was just really hard for me personally, and I failed him. I put him in these situations where that's not the dog. Like, I was dragging him to all of this stuff, and I wanted him to be, this dog
mm,
that just at the end of the day, like, he enjoyed the sports component for sure. He thrived in all kinds of stuff, and he had done well at previous dog events. We had done a lure coursing seminar, and he did fantastic, but that environment was a little bit different in that he had space and nobody approached him. So, but part of me just felt shame for trying to maybe
mm,
take him into all of this stuff that maybe that's not who he wanted to be, and he struggled with those environments. And so there was a lot of feelings that came with that event. And so when I was going back through our messages, like, I had reached out to you based on your content. I kind of had this feeling that you could support me with some of those big feelings that I was feeling from that encounter. I wasn't processing it well. I was ruminating, and I was locked in that, like, guilt and shame, and things were not well that week. Like, my dog was very much still flooded days later. He was so upset by that. Like, he doesn't enjoy being put in that situation. And so he was still shaking, like, physically for days after that.
mm.
People that he
Well,
knew, he knew our dog trainer and loved him, but he was even nervous going to that. And we were just both really flooded and heightened. And so I had reached out to you kind of in this desperate moment of, like, I feel like based on what she does, this girl, like, I just felt this pull that maybe you could kind of support me where I was at. And so it's funny, I just said, like, do you do one-on-one counseling for dog moms? Like, basically, I'm
yeah.
looking for a psychologist of sorts that can support me with this very, very dog specific event, right? Like, I knew that you would understand dog behavior, the situation that I was in, the context, and then maybe even a lot of the feelings that come with that. So I just felt that need for specific support. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we connected about that. And then we set up a call.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing that with me. I think, yeah, I can certainly relate to a lot of that. A lot of what you shared, I've also experienced, and a lot of my clients have experienced that I did this to my dog. And I
Yeah.
think especially with human directed aggression, the stakes are so much higher for dogs that do make contact with people.
Yeah.
And it's never the dog's fault, but it's also not our fault too, because as dog moms, we're doing the best we can, like to try and help a dog that has special needs, emotional challenges, navigate the world. And it doesn't come with a playbook, right? I mean, you kind of just have to figure it out. So yeah, thank you for
Exactly.
sharing. Thank you for going back and sharing because I know it's not easy. I appreciate that. And
Thank you.
yeah, can you just share just a little bit about you said that Spencer was shaking, you were kind of feeling really guilty. Can you just share what shifted when we connected and worked together?
Yeah, so I guess I immediately, so the focus kind of our call was like that support for me and
Mm-hmm.
processing my own feelings. And so I guess following our call, uh, I had processed some of that stuff that I was being flooded by because of the advice and the guidance and even just talking it out and that the validation that you were able to give me too. And that was really, really helpful. I felt heard and I felt validated. And so processing a lot of those really difficult emotions, I noticed very quickly. Actually, it was the next day after our call. And I sent you a photo, and I said, I guess like processing my own stuff has made me more pleasant to be around. And so, yeah, I had gotten rid of a lot of that negative energy that I was very clearly carrying in my body. And we had been dwelling in it. Like, I didn't really know how to support him best. And because I was so triggered and anxious, like laying around the house probably wasn't the best supportive thing for him. And so we connected. And after I processed some of those really, really big feelings, he actually came over to me and laid his head on my chest and he
Mm-hmm.
fell asleep.
Oh.
Which was really beautiful, that he felt like safe and calm in that moment to
Mm-hmm.
reconnect with me, like that I was pleasant to be around again, that I had shed some of that negativity that we kind of carry inside about it, and that he, like to see the direct link and correlation between me processing some of my feelings around that trauma and translate directly to my dog's willingness to connect with me, his nervous system. Um, that was very eye-opening to me. I didn't realize the effect that what we carry has on them. And it used to bother me because when people would hear that he was leash reactive or he was reactive in general, you would get a lot of unsolicited advice like, well, it's you. You just need to relax at the end of the leash. And it's like, okay, well, okay, sure. Yes, I get that, but I didn't create this. But now that I know what it's capable of, now I'm nervous and I'm flooded and I'm anxious. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but I think I underestimated the power and the ability of regulating myself and then seeing the direct impact that it had on my dog and to see him come out of this flooded state and to just be at peace and to seek out
Mm-hmm.
that connection with me. I thought that was really, really beautiful. And then I had also made a note that even after our session, I did do some journaling and processed even a little bit more what was going on with me at that time. And I noticed my dog open up and begin to become more himself
Mm-hmm.
following that. And so for me, it was really, really neat to see that direct correlation.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's beautiful when it's like that and it's so quick and you notice those shifts immediately.
Oh,
It's not always like that,
yeah.
but it's beautiful what you shared because that just shows the possibility and what's possible when you can move through some of these traumatic experiences. So getting support, getting and receiving support, right? And I think as dog moms, when I can relate, I have a human child as well. So
Yeah.
when trauma happens, we can shift so much to the regret, the shame, all the like really heavy emotions,
Yeah.
that actually when we're stuck there block connection with any other being. So just thank you for sharing that. And just wrapping up, would you mind sharing like what's different for you and Spencer now? Like how do you walk through the world differently?
I think the way that I walk through the world differently is that I have kind of shed my expectations
Mm-hmm.
um, of what I expect him to be. Um, and I really try to just more honor who he is um, at his core and what his preferences look like. I have my own preferences too. I'm not always a people person either. And so just I think being more honest with myself and kind of shedding some of those performance-based expectations and just trying
Mm-hmm.
to give him the life that like he would choose. And that doesn't mean that it's not still a rich life. It just looks a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's in a place now with his training and he wasn't when I first got him, but he's now in a place where we can have him off leash. Like there is a world of freedom that is open to him, which is incredible. And I how I do that and where I do that looks really different. But he has a very full life. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think part of that was tied to my expectations and to stop resisting or being sad for what wasn't, and to just kind
Mm-hmm.
of embrace who he is, and his individuality and what he prefers. So I think that would be the biggest piece is just shedding those expectations and honoring who he is as his own individual little self and just embracing that really. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's definitely less stress. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're just like he seeks out those opportunities for connection now all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which really makes me feel good that I am a safe place for him to
Mm-hmm.
be and that in those moments, if he is reacting at something, like he does look to me, like I've definitely built that relationship. I'm just more realistic now about what what would he choose in this moment, and
Mm-hmm.
what does he want? What are his needs? And trying to balance those accordingly. I think that's what I would say to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think that'll help a lot of dog moms who are in it with a dog that's reactive because shifting that expectation really does make a difference. I think that
Yeah.
it's like this, we put a lot of pressure on our dogs to be a certain way, and we also put a crap ton of pressure on ourselves to be a certain way
Exactly.
and look a certain way and have it all together. And where you just shared that you kind of release some of that pressure on him and like, okay, what is going to look different than maybe you imagine. And I can relate a lot with my boy Willie because I've recognized like he's not a social butterfly. He doesn't want to go to the big dog event, and he's not comfortable in that space. And he's a
Yeah.
lot like me. I'm not always 100% comfortable in a crowded, busy environment as well. So yeah, I think sometimes our dogs mirror us really well. And then the beautiful thing is that sometimes when we give them what they need, we give ourselves what we need to.
That's so true. I really love how you kind of tied that together because it's true when I think about how that looks different for us since then. It's just a more laid back,
Mhm.
stress-free, organic environment and life that we're able to give him. And it's just more true to what he needs. And it doesn't mean that we don't have success in other events. Like it's not that I gave up on anything. I just think that I'm just less hard on myself for the things that I will subject us to or what's worth it. And when I do things, I really just try to do them in a way that I know will set him up to have success. Before I had given advice of like, just trust him, just throw him in. And I just very quickly
Mm,
learned that like I was not doing this dog any favors. And in fact, I was damaging that bond even further because he would lose faith in me. You know, to him, that would say like, oh my God, mama's gonna put me in these situations where I have to speak for myself and I'm not comfortable. And so I just got a lot more choosy about what I was willing to subject him to and be very, very careful about that environment and what we take in and what we choose not to anymore. So
mhm. Beautiful. Well, thank you for this and say hi to Spencer for me.
thank you.